お願いします。
お願いします。
Okay, and then just a couple moments of zazen, a chance to tune in, notice and feel the body. Remind yourself of your breath. Allow the weight to settle. And allow that settling to release and open the upper body. Consciously release the abdomen so it's free to move with the breath. Eyes are softly gazing slightly downward. Each out breath is a releasing breath. Consciously releasing tension with each exhale. And slowly coming up. Okay, and then a light horse stance. And then in kids class earlier, we actually used an image, a symbol. I thought this would be good for everybody. And that's the image of a tree. And this is, of course, often used, this idea and this symbol, this reference. Half the tree is underground, at least half the tree. And the deeper the roots go, the taller the tree can become and still be stable. So from the hips down are the roots. So you can imagine your legs and feet enter deep into the ground. They're below the ground, reaching deeper and deeper. And the more we can rest and settle our weight and our mind downward, the more open and taller upper body can be. So a big principle in internal martial arts is this idea and quality and principle of down or sinking. And there is a very common word or term that's used, rooting, developing our root, rooting deep, just like the roots of a tree. Now, most people, untrained people, they're very uptight, carry themselves tall, their center of gravity is tall. And we're always saying they're uptight, literally, they're in and up, they're uptight. So they're a tall tree with no roots. So that's pretty precarious, right? They fall over very easily. Slightest wind, they'll not be knocked over. Well, that's mentally as well. Physically, that's reflecting also the mental reality as well, as we're easily knocked off if we're not settled and rooted. The deeper we go, the more we sink our root, the more we stabilize ourselves and settle ourselves, the more upper body can grow taller or be more open. So this is another way of putting what we're always talking about, weight under side. It works in the legs and hips. Upper body is just going for the ride. We want to open and release the arms, the shoulders, and upper body. It's just another way. It's a nice, helpful way of imagining it and creating it with this colorful imagery. So as we stand in this light horse stance, Imagine and feel that your legs and feet are deep, deep, deep into the ground. And the deeper that root goes, the more you can release and open the upper body. So it's two directions at once. It's two things at once. But it might be helpful to prioritize one of those things, and that's down. Prioritizing the rooting, the grounding, and that will allow you to be more and more open and released and relaxed. And then even when a strong wind comes, we're still stable. That tree is still stable. It's flexible, but still stable, solid. So we have both flexible and softness. The branches are very soft, even softer are the leaves. The leaves are very yin, very soft. The slightest breeze can move the leaves. A little stronger breeze can move the light branches. And eventually, the entire tree can move as well. So we're soft and flexible as well, and adaptable and movable with the environment. Yet we're solid, yin and yang. So hips down are the roots, and our trunk of the body is the trunk of the tree. And our arms and head are the branches. So the arms and upper body, the whole spine, the whole torso, the trunk, and the leaves are open and free, flexible, because we have a solid base. Now, as we go into arm swings, a very common exercise we do a lot, we can practice the same qualities in movement. In other words, if my tree is not very rooted, if my roots don't go very, very deep, then I'll end up being toppled over very easy and knocked over very easy. Not grounded, not rooted, not balanced, broken. If I have my roots and I'm sinking, letting gravity work through me, that leaves my upper body and arms, my branches, my arms very flexible, but I'm not tipping, I'm not broken, I'm not disintegrated. Very stable, very solid, anchored, rooted, and then I can afford to be very open and very relaxed. So those are two important qualities, yin and yang. Anchored, solid, deep in the ground, so I can be open and relaxed. So again, an example of our simple arm swing movement, there's a lot of training involved, physically and mentally. Lots to work on, just on those principles. How settled, how rooted can I be? How relaxed can I be up here? Am I tipping or angling here? I want to be just like a tree, very vertical. Often we talk about hanging from a string, just using a different imagery this time. That's the tree and roots. Now let's take this into a forward stance, like a long stance here, and shift the weight forward and back. Show you from the side. So I'm obviously not a very good tree if I'm doing this. Or the other way. Also, here I'm stiff. I want those branches and leaves to be free. And as we often say, I'm using the ground to shift the weight. Ground, and in a sense below the ground, get even deeper, is my source of stability, my source of strength, my source of power, my source of movement. And I'm switching feet. So again, I don't want to have the back heel come off. That's the roots coming out of the ground, right? Nice stable feet. Let those arms relax. Release the abdomen. Again, the head is open and tall, like branches reaching up as the roots reach down. Both directions at once. Good. Let's come back to a nice horse stance here again. And we're going to sink into our hips, bend our knees. And we'll do trunk rotations. One way and then the other. So again, lower body is anchored solid. Upper body is free to move. Nice and open. Good. A little arch back to the back corner through both arms, equal branches, both sides. Other way. Good. And then sinking right down into the hips. And we draw a circle underneath between our legs, push the hips forward, draw up, arch back as far as comfortable. Elbows go back, push forward with your palms, sitting into squat, and then sinking down into a squat. We inscribe a circle underneath us and behind us, push the hips through, arching back, pushing forward. Let's down to the hips, inscribing a large circle underneath us, pushing the hips through, arching as far as comfortable, sinking and pushing. Good. We're moving into a forward stance, pushing the hips forward, big arc, forward, up and back. Make sure you're not holding your breath at all. And then a big reach forward and down, stretching the back of the front leg. Down on the knee, push the hips forward. Up, pivot. Walking with the other leg forward. So big reach forward, big reach up, big reach back. Breathing the whole time. Big reach forward, down, stretching the back, front leg. Down. Up. Pushing the knees out. Small circles with the knees, and figure eights. And figure eights the other way. Coming up using the legs. Walk your feet in and out. And oh, bend the knees, hip circles. Up way. Good. Roll your shoulders, alternating. And other way. Nice big circle so it even gets the neck moving and the tailbone. Equal stretch through both arms. Pushing through. His knees are bent, so the lower back is flat, straight. Okay, so we'll do some basic movement and drills, basically the white belt program for our newer people on the call today, and we'll treat this as a warm-up as well. So we're going to shift the weight forward and back. Again, the back heel stays flat. If it comes up, then we're probably leaning, we're disintegrated, and we're open, vulnerable. So Shift the weight forward and back. More experienced people, you know that you're actually accessing the ground, pressing down that foot. Let the ground force move you. Funakoki Endo means boat rowing in English because it kind of looks like you're rowing a boat. You shift the weight forward, it drives the arms forward. We bend the wrists this way. Hands are soft. It's a soft fist, not closed tight. Just a gentle fist, and it's slightly rotating in. So more experienced people, you want to get that detail. I'm exaggerating a little bit. You can see that. So a little bit in, rotating in, and coming in. You can imagine if someone's grabbing your wrists, which in regular class, we often have that occur. We have a partner grab both wrists. How coming in like that will weaken their grab and their structure. I can't come right into them directly. As you know, we want to come underneath their power. And coming in at this angle also weakens their grip and their structure. If I was grabbing. So that also relates to spiral action, right? We're not just sliding under in a linear fashion, having this rotation in. Again, not just a linear entering, but a spiraling. More experienced people can work on that detail. Shifting back brings the hands back. So we're not moving our arms. Our arms are moved by our weight shift. Here, wrists are forward, knuckles rolled under. Here, knuckles are on top. Rolled under, on top. So those wrists are flexing. Knuckles roll under, knuckles roll on top. Coming from the hips and back to the hips. Shoulders stay down. Release the abdomen. Now let's switch feet and we'll do Minucci. So the weight shift is exactly the same, body shape, posture exactly the same. But now instead of down here, as we go forward, it drives the arms forward and up. As we shift the weight back, a big arc coming down. So as big as we can make it without locking the elbows and without leaning. And that's coming from the weight shift, coming from the work of the legs and arms. That forms like a clear A shape, not the palms forward. The edges of the hands, edges, forearms. It's called the Tegatana. Katana, Tegatana, hand blades. Our personal swords. So they're facing forward. It kind of frames my face. So I'm protecting the face, throat, and ribs with the elbows. Imagine that tree again. That's a very useful imagery. Hopefully that conjures up some feeling. The feeling of being rooted, the feeling of sinking into the ground, and the feeling of stability that comes from that. Good. Let's do some basic footwork. So first, let's talk about basic stance, Hami no Kamae. Our main stance is a forward stance. That there's slightly more weight in that forward leg, about 60-40. And the arms are out here, ready position. And that comes directly from our weapons work, how we hold a sword or a staff, the bokken or jo, the sword or the staff, how we hold those weapons inform our empty hand work. Exactly the same shape. Where the tegatana or hand blade is the edge of the sword. That's our own personal sword. Fingertips are the tip of the sword. So we want our fingertips pointed slightly up. Elbows rolled forward. Elbows are the butt end of the handle of the sword. This is the blade of the sword, tip of the sword. So that's the end position. For Minucci, both blades going forward. Ready stance, we just have a slight turn. Hanmi means half. Hanmi no Kamae, another term for that is half stance. You turn at an angle. So that back leg is the back arm. But both are out, both arms are out, not closed. And then we learn to switch Hanmi or change feet. There's a particular way we do that. Good amount of detail on just simply switching stance. First of all, it's the back leg coming up, then the front leg going back. The back leg comes up, front leg goes back, and the switching of the legs is the switching of the arms. We maintain a forward stance, and we don't want to bob up and down, so I don't want to do this. That compromises the balance and makes us easier to track and to locate. We want to stay basically at the same level, and that means keeping the knees bent. So back leg comes up, front leg goes back, and that's what switches my arms. More experienced people, you want to focus on rotating around that vertical axis. Simply turning around a very sharp vertical axis, running right through the center, covering your center line. Good, okay. So some movement and footwork. Hirami Sugiyashi, front foot off, turn. So by the way, all these movements are listed. So for new people, these movements are listed in the program. So you can see the visual of how they're written out. It's called Hirami Sugiyashi. Big aspect of what we do in Aikido is get out of the way, get offline. Front foot comes offline, turn 45 degrees, but we stay in a forward stance. Later on, we'll be doing, maybe later on today, we're moving into a back stance. The basic stance, forward attitude, forward stance. Hands simply maintain that center line. We don't want to collapse when we move. So front foot offline, turn 45 degrees, keep the weight in the front leg. Slightly, not a lot. Here's 50%, just slightly forward. More experienced people, simply your strong forward attitude, your strong outflow should be enough to create your forward stance. If I'm holding the sword, I'll have a strong intention, strong outward flow, and that's exactly what informs my body posture, my body shape, my empty hand structure and movement, a strong outward flow. So we'll do a few of those steps. So we'll do that in 2 counts. So this will be 1, 2. 1, 2, check your stance. You haven't popped up the back heel, nice and vertical, weight slightly forward, covering center line. In Japanese, that would be each, knee. Each, knee. Now let's switch to the other side. Right side forward. Each, knee. Each, knee. Knee, knee. Back to the other side again. Left side forward is called Hidari. So we'll do that on 1 count. Each. The pause here for at least a good couple seconds. Check your posture. Misalignments you might have. Correct it. Get that center line. And clear. Each. Each. Up. Right side forward. Each. Knee. Up. Yeet. Okay. So let's stay with right side forward. It's called Migi, Migi Hanmi. And now we have a slightly different footwork. We're going to switch feet and get offline. Get offline by, rather than the front foot moving first, the back foot's going to move first. So back foot comes offline. So it comes up a little bit and over. The front foot comes back 45 degrees. So we start, weight in the right leg. Be finishing off with the weight slightly in the left leg because it's still a forward stance. Okay, so in 2 counts, that would be each, knee. Your arms switch with your legs. Each, knee. Notice if you're still covering center line. Also, especially experienced people, notice if there's any collapsation in your arms when you're switching. Notice if there's a retraction or softening or blurring of your energy. So you keep it sharp. Keep it sharp. Notice any blurring, any dissolving. Keep it the same, keep it alive, keep it sharp. So it's each knee. Each knee. Weights in the left leg here. Okay, Hidari. Back foot, offline, front foot, turn 45 degrees. Each, knee. Forward stance, strong forward attitude. Each, knee. Each, knee. Migi Hanmi again. So the 2 steps, 1 out. Each. Knee. On. Knee. Okay, Hidari, left side forward. Each. Knee. On. Knee. Okay. Shomanuchi. Shomanuchi is a strike. Shoman means the front of the head. So striking could be to the nose. Of course, if we have a side angle, it could be anywhere. The head, temple, jaw. It comes from classic, again, sword work, classic sword work. Shomanuchi strike. Exactly the same movement as this sword strike. Exactly the same movement. And without that sword, we have our own personal swords. Again, Tegatana, hand blades. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today about all the steps we often talk about. Basically, you raise that back hand over the forehead, step and use your weight for power to cut down without toppling over or leaning over. You want to be a good tree. More experienced people, turn your hips, raise that sword, step is your power to cut. We'll finish at Chudon level. Chudon is middle level. Anything more than that, you're being open, exposed. You'll cut through the target, but not creating an opening. So each experienced people keep this other hand alive. This back hand stays alive. Offensively, defensively. So my backhand is just as alive as a striking hand. Knee. San. Chi. Whoa. Okay, we'll switch stance. Check your forward stance. When you step and cut, make sure you're not coming up off that back heel. Each. Come up center line, cut down center line, both arms equally alive. Knee. On. Breathe out on the strike. Chi. Okay? Yoke them in. Same dynamics, but as I step, my foot, and therefore the whole leg, turns ever so slightly. We just did Showman strike. It's straight. We turn this slightly. That makes a slight angle. Yoke them in. It means side of the head strike. Yoke them in. Turn the hips, raise the sword, step with that slight angle in the hip and leg, creates a slight angle in the cut. So that's to the side of the head, temple, jaw. Again, not too low. Create an opening through the target, but not too far. Each. Knee. On. See. Oh. Switch stance. Center line. Each. Knee. Check out the viability of your other hand. Still alive. On. See. Oh. Okay, now, earlier we did Irimi Sugiyashi and Irimi Amiyashi with simply switching our stance, switching our hands. So now we'll do the 7th Q program, which is those basic footwork and movement, but with strikes. So we're going to do Sugiyashi, most basic footwork, with a Showman strike. And in this case, it's the front arm, not the back arm. We're not stepping, we're just moving over. So that looks like this. So that's 7th Q program. Sugiyashi with a Showman strike. Okay? So if we start with the left side forward, Irari, Irimi Sugiyashi with a Showman strike. So as we slide that front foot off, we raise the sword. As we slide that front foot off, as the back foot slides into place, the back foot lands in place, that's the power for the strike. In this case, it's a Showman strike. In this case, it's straight down. So coming off line, I raise the sword. When that back foot anchors, as it anchors, that's the power for the cut down. Okay? So all in one count. So that's each, still in a forward stance. Knee. San. Shi. Being a good tree, nice and vertical, nice and anchored, deep roots. Switch sides. So Sugiyashi with the Showman strike with the front side. Each. Knee. How long can you make your strike? San. Shi. Whoa. Okay. Now, Ayumiyashi. So back foot comes offline, front foot comes back 45 degrees. Stay in a forward stance. So now it's the source of that strike is from the back arm. So it looks like this. So that's our regular Shomanuchi. Our regular Shomanuchi step is just that we're coming offline to do that. So we have the right side forward, Migi. We'll be striking with the left hand, which is in the back right now. Each. Knee. Maintain a forward stance. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Each. Okay, Hidari. So back foot's coming off line, front foot comes back, but we stay in that front leg, in this case the right leg. That's going to be that back arm. As we step up, that drives the sword up. As we step back, that's the power for the cut. As I step up, I raise the hand blade. As I slide that foot into the back position, that's the power to cut down. Each. Eat. On. Eat. Rope. Rope. Each. Touch. Who? Do. Hey, quick review of Yokomen strike. Remember, that's where we step forward and it's a slight angle. Simply turn my hip and my leg at a slight angle, and that creates a strike from being straight down to a slight angle. The target becomes the side of the head or neck. So we do that with basic footwork, Irbi Sugieshi again. So again, that's going to be the front arm. So if I demo that a couple times, Sugieshi with the Yokomen strike. Okay, left leg forward. Each. And again, as I slide that back foot in position, that's my power for the sword cut. Knee. On. Shi. Other hand's active, backhand's active and alive, defensively, offensively. It's all equal. Whoa. Okay, Migi Hanmi. Weight forward on the right leg. Front arm, angle cut. Each. Knee. Keep your extension, your mental flow continuous throughout the whole movement, even in the transitions. Rope. Each. Touch. Okay, Ayumiyashi. So that's going to be the back arm delivering the strike. Stepping up raises the sword. Stepping back is the power to cut the sword. Both hand blades are equal. Each. Knee. Straight up center line, and then angle cut. Straight up center line, angle cut. Rope. Each. Touch. Okay, just a couple on this side here. Left side forward. Each. Knee. On. Knee. Keep your extension, keep your flow. Good. Light horse stance.